I'm glad to see the changes, but we need to save those businesses that are literally steeped in debt, in arrears, that need help. And I'm urging and begging the government to get on board. And I'm asking the Conservatives to also get on board and pressuring the government to force them to create an opportunity for those that were excluded to get access to the funding they so deserve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to raise these issues.
The honourable member for Courtney Alberni will have 5 minutes for questions and comments when the House next gets back to debate on the question. But for now, we'll go to statements by members, déclaration de député, and our first is by video conference, the honourable member for Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Next week, we will mark Veterans Week across the country. And like many Canadians, I am proud to stand strong in support of veterans, those who have served and sacrificed, and those who continue to serve with honor and courage to protect human rights and democracy and to ensure that Canadian values are protected. I encourage you to proudly support our veterans by donating to their fund, purchasing and wearing a poppy, and paying your respects on Remembrance Day through virtual events, through prayer and moments of silence. Please encourage others to reach out in thanks and gratitude to our veterans and to the men and women who continue to serve for their contributions to global efforts of peace and free society will always be remembered. Mr. Speaker, we also acknowledge the contributions of legions and legionnaires to our veterans and to our communities, and we give them our gratitude as well. May we always remember, lest we forget.
The honourable member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, in a year of hardship for many, I want to thank the local Royal Canadian Legion branches 43 and 637 in my riding, as well as our great military service clubs in the City of Oshawa for their coordinated efforts in organizing this year's Remembrance Day Memorial on the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War and the 70th anniversary of the beginning of the Korean War. Normally, Remembrance Day in Oshawa is a time we stand together and reflect upon the sacrifices of those that laid down their lives so we can live free. But with the need to protect our citizens from COVID-19, our veterans groups and the City of Oshawa have come together with Rogers and will be offering an online virtual broadcast of the ceremony starting at 10:30 a.m. I am thankful for the work of our great community leaders in organizing the ceremony, and I look forward to paying my respects as well. Lest we forget, Mr. Speaker, lest we forget. N'oublions jamais. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Merci.
The honourable member for Egmont.
Mr. Speaker, today I wish to acknowledge the resilience of the West Prince community of my Egmont riding following awful tragedies that occurred earlier this fall. Last Friday, I was invited to attend an event hosted by the community of Northport to thank all the volunteers and recognize the families whose lives were changed forever. Whether it be the volunteers who helped in the search or those who kept the boys and their families in their thoughts and prayers, our community rallied around those impacted by these tragedies in such a way that made us all proud to call West Prince home. I extend a special thanks to DND Search and Rescue, the Canadian Coast Guard, Fisheries and Oceans, Parks Canada, and the RCMP, who promptly answered their calls to action in response to these tragedies. When the men and women who serve put on their uniform each day, they do so knowing that they're putting their lives at risk in order to protect us. As 2020 has shown us, the resilience of our communities relies on us coming together when it matters most. I'm proud of my community for doing just that. Merci les hommes et les femmes en uniforme.
I thank the men and women in uniform. I thank them.
Courtney Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, small businesses across Canada have been closing their doors and struggling to survive since the beginning of the pandemic in March. And yet the Liberals have designed their rent relief program so that business owners only take on more debt. CECRA was deeply flawed and a broken program, and the Liberals knew that when they launched it. Not only did they need to show a 70% revenue loss, but business owners need their landlord's permission to apply. To fix their own mistake, they've announced a new tenant focus program that only offers support to and from the end of September. The Liberals designed a commercial rent subsidy program that left the majority of small businesses behind. I don't understand why they won't make the necessary changes so that commercial renters who were left out in the first time can get the retroactive financial support they need to weather this storm. We're calling on the government to save the hardest hit businesses by backdating the rent program to April. This will help them catch up on their rent, rehire the employees they let go, and save small business across the country. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Sherbrooke.
The honourable member for Sherbrooke. I'm honoured today to take a moment to commemorate Remembrance Day. November 5th to 11th in the midst of Veterans Week is a particularly important day for my riding. Sherbrooke has 2 armories, is home to 4 regiments whose dedicated work makes us proud. I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight the deployment of our reservists as part of Operation Laser in the long-term care facilities, particularly in Montreal. This mission reminds us of the important work of our troops, even in peacetime, a competent and altruistic job. For Remembrance Day, I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Alphonse Pelletier, a Sherbrooke veteran of the Korean War, to whom I presented a medal of recognition for his bravery, commitment, and involvement throughout his life. Mr. Pelletier, your sacrifice and dedication to defending Canadian values is a remarkable example for Canadians from coast to coast to coast. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kenora.
Mr. Speaker, as the Member of Parliament for the riding of Kenora, it's incredibly disappointing to see that the North continues to be overlooked by this Liberal government. From economic development to infrastructure improvements to social supports, our region is clearly not on the Liberals' priority list. From Pickle Lake to Red Lake, from Sioux Narrows to Sioux Lookout, it's clear the Liberals have no plan to enable the North to prosper. Luckily, the Conservative Party is here for Northerners. We support industries like forestry and mining that spur economic growth. We support tourism and small businesses, which the Prime Minister accused of being tax cheats. We recognize the need for improved infrastructure and internet, and we continue to stand up for law-abiding firearms owners. Conservatives are champions for Northern prosperity, and we are going to continue to fight for the issues that are important to Northerners. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Winnipeg North.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We live in a great country, a country that has so much diversity, Mr. Speaker. It's with great happiness I say to you and to all members and to all Canadians, Happy Diwali. It is our heritage that I believe is our greatest strength. And Canada, as diverse as we are, continues to grow every day in our rich, vibrant heritage. Historically, Diwali is celebrated by Sikhs, Hindus, Jains, and others to recognize different historical events. The common thread seems to be the victory of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, good over evil, hope over despair. I too celebrate Diwali in my own special way because for me it is a part of Canada's heritage and something I truly believe in. Mr. Speaker, I ask all members of the House, all Canadians, to recognize our heritage and join Canadians from coast to coast to coast celebrate Diwali. Happy Diwali, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Mr. Speaker, this is Holocaust Education Week. As we remember all those who fought and sacrificed for our freedom from tyranny in World War II, we must not forget the lessons from that war. Between 1941 and 1945, over 6 million Jews were systemically murdered in concentration camps in an effort to exterminate an entire people. But recent studies show that up to 22% of young Canadians don't even know about the Holocaust. Those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it. Even today, there are Holocaust deniers who continue to stoke the flames of anti-Semitism, hate, and xenophobia. We cannot take our democracy for granted. We must always be vigilant and call out hatred whenever we see it. We must teach our children about the Holocaust so that such evil and darkness never again rises in our midst. We must remember. Only then can we say never again.
The honourable member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Mr. Speaker, Canada and Alberta lost an aviation pioneer this week. Max Ward passed away on Monday night at the age of 98. born in Edmonton in 1921. He was a veteran of the RCAF, a bush pilot, an entrepreneur, and a very savvy businessman. In 1953, he founded Ward Air in Yellowknife with a 14-passenger single-engine otter that operated on wheels, skis, and floats. His business grew over time, and through his commitment to his employees and the industry, Ward Air eventually became Canada's third-largest airline in 1989. In true Alberta tradition, he built his business on a commitment to providing good service for good prices by good people. The recipient of numerous honorary degrees, he also received the Alberta Order of Excellence, was inducted into Canada's Aviation Hall of Fame, and made an officer of the Order of Canada. Max Ward will be deeply missed by his friends, his family, Albertans, and Canadians.
The honourable member for Dartmouth Cole Harbour.
Mr. Speaker, let us honor the brave women and men who served, our veterans, for their sacrifice to bring peace and stability to those abroad and here at home. In Dartmouth Cole Harbour, crowds usually gather at cenotaphs throughout our community in honor of Canada's veterans, in support of those who serve, in memory of those we've lost. I always attend the ceremony at Sullivan's Pond, where thousands and thousands of people would normally stand side by side in remembrance. Although the COVID-19 pandemic means we can't gather in a crowd this year, there are still so many ways that we can give thanks and remember those we have lost. Mr. Speaker, I encourage everyone who is able to buy a poppy this year from their local Legion. And whether you can make it to your local cenotaph or not, please hold Canada's veterans and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in your heart and in your mind, lest we forget.
Virtually now, the Honourable Member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, January 23rd, 1921 marks the birth of Leo Major. He was a great man, still unknown in Quebec, but became a hero in the Netherlands. He was a valiant soldier, member of the Régiment de la Chaudière. He enlisted at the age of 19, determined to help his country. He lost his left eye in Normandy, but participated in the Battle of Scheldt in 1944. During the Rhineland campaign, Corporal Major was wounded again. His vehicle hit a mine. He escaped from the hospital and welcomed by a family in Nijmegen, the Netherlands. April 14, 1945, marked the beginning of the liberation of nearly 50,000 people in Zwolle, the Netherlands. One night, he attacked German patrols, giving the impression of an invasion by Canadian troops, and single-handedly liberated the town. That night, he also lost his best friend, Willie Arsenault. On April 14, 2005, 60 years to the day after the liberation of Zwolle, he was made an honorary citizen of the town. This, Mr. Speaker, is a definition of a true hero. Let us remember Leo and all veterans on November 11th.
The honourable member for Barrie Innisfil.
Mr. Speaker, during Veterans Week, I rise today to honor John Jack Stringer, who died on October 24th in Barrie, just 2 months after celebrating his 100th birthday. Jack joined the Canadian Forces in 1940 and promptly shipped overseas. During World War II, Jack fought in almost every country in Europe and would later serve during the Korean conflict in 1952. Jack retired as Chief Warrant Officer from Base Borden in 1975, just after he and his wife of 72 years, Regina, would pay a greater price with more than just Jack's service for King and Country. In 1974, their son Bruce was one of the Buffalo Nine Canadian peacekeepers killed over Damascus, Syria. On behalf of a grateful nation, I want to thank Jack Stringer and the hundreds of thousands of Canadians and their families who have served and continue to serve our country with courage, honor, valor, and sacrifice. This Sunday on Indigenous Veterans Day and on November 11th, I encourage all Canadians to show Canada's veterans, in whatever way they can, how grateful and thankful we are for all that they have done for us.
The honourable member for New Westminster, Burnaby.
Well, this morning is a great morning in America. With the results in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona, clearly Joe Biden will become the next president of the United States. This brings an end to the nightmare of the presidency of Donald Trump, someone who embodies dishonesty, misogyny, racism, and xenophobia, and who admires brutal authoritarian regimes. Now is the time for healing and a chance for all humanity to work together to find solutions to challenges we face, above all, to the existential crisis of climate change. Americans are our closest friends and neighbors. Our undefended border is a symbol of peace and hope worldwide. Congratulations to President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Canadians look forward to working with you in the years to come.
La députée de Beloeil-Chambly.
The Honourable Member for Beloeil-Chambly. Order, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With great sadness that I learned yesterday of the death of Émilie Sans Façon following a long battle with cancer. Up until the last moment, until the recent contact through her father, Louis, she displayed courage. She fought for her own health. By doing so, she also sacrificed a great deal of her health, fighting unfairness, inequity, discrimination, facing people who are seriously ill in terms of employment insurance. Today, we have hope because Emily would have wanted it that way. She left us, but her battle remains because she would never have wanted things to be different. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Bruce Grey Owen Sound.
Mr. Speaker, as a retired colonel in the Canadian Armed Forces and a proud Legion member, every year I wear the poppy with great pride, taking time to remember those who have served before me, those that still serve, and those that made the ultimate sacrifice. I was shocked and even more disappointed to read this morning that Whole Foods grocery stores, in an affront to our veterans, have banned their employees from wearing poppies. I trust this misguided policy will be reversed immediately and Whole Foods will allow their employees to wear poppies again. Without our veterans, Canada would not be the country we are so proud to call home. Other nations like the Netherlands understand this. Why don't Whole Foods? In this vein, tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Global BC will premiere the documentary 75 Years Later, The Sounds of Freedoms on their YouTube channel to pay tribute to Canadians that took part in World War II and specifically those that liberated the Netherlands. I encourage all Canadians to watch this broadcast in honor of those who gave their lives for Canada and the Netherlands. Wear the poppy with pride, lest we forget.
The Honourable Member for Sackville-Preston, Chessie Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Remembrance Day, Canadians will remember those who lost their lives serving in the Canadian Forces and thank those who served and continue to serve. From Passchendaele to Kandahar, Canadian soldiers have a proud history of serving in the most dangerous situation, risking their lives to defend the most vulnerable among us. C'est tellement inspirant de voir.
It's so inspiring to see our communities find ways to come together virtually to ensure that we continue to honour members and former members of the Canadian Forces.
Together in person, but it will never stop us from honouring those who risked everything to defend our freedom and our democracy here and around the world. Nova Scotians have also witnessed incredible tragic moments over the past year, yet the strength, resilience and love in our community only continue to grow. Aujourd'hui, nous nous ressemblons.
Today, we gather to remember those who lost their lives in the service of Canada and to thank those who have served and continue to serve.
Nous nous souviendrons. Merci.
Oral questions. Questions orales. L'honorable député de Carleton.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
We're all wearing poppies to honour those who served, those who were wounded, those who never came home, for the countless mothers who buried their faces in their pillows in the endless anguish of knowing that they'd never see their daughter or son again. That's why Canadians are so outraged that a billionaire American-owned Whole Foods, a grocery chain, has banned its workers from honouring our soldiers. Will the government join with Canadians in boycotting Whole Foods, saying that we will not give them our money until they let their workers give thanks?
The Honourable Minister.
I thank my honourable colleague for the question, Mr. Speaker, and this is absolutely unacceptable. The poppy is an important symbol of remembrance, and it's more important than ever that everybody supports the Royal Canadian Legion Poppy campaign this year. I know all my colleagues in the House join me in condemning this move and reinforcing the poppy for everyone to remember and honour the service of the people who have provided our democracy and freedom. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Carleton.
Well, the government told us they needed to shut down Parliament to do away with all the distracting questions about their WE scandal and other cover-ups so that they could focus like a laser beam on a new plan to get our economy back. So they've had all this time to themselves, and they came forward with a rent assistance program that doesn't pay rent assistance to anyone who can't afford to prepay their rent. Today, they tried to fix it, but they gummed up the procedure and got ruled out of order. Do they realize that their spectacular incompetence is costing businesses their livelihoods and workers their jobs?
The Honourable Minister, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I take issue with the honourable member's characterization of our plan. It is because of measures like the wage subsidy, the emergency business account, and various supports, including for commercial rent, that millions of Canadians still have a job to go to that allows them to feed their families. With respect to the Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy, as we enter the second wave of the pandemic across Canada, we have developed a new program that will allow easier access and more targeted benefits to go directly to tenants when their business have suffered a loss of revenue. We will be there for Canadians going forward as we have been through the course of this pandemic.
Member for Carleton.
Yesterday, the finance minister couldn't say how big the deficit was or the debt or the additional cost of a 1% increase in the interest on our national debt. She couldn't say when there'd be an economic update or a budget. We haven't had one for a record period of time. She couldn't say whether we would be able to provide the necessary information to the Auditor General. Is it because the government doesn't know or because they don't want Canadians to know? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, again, the honourable member is focused on the wrong thing. When the Governor of the Bank of Canada attended before the Finance Committee, when both he and I were present, the Governor informed him that the much bigger risk facing the Canadian economy was deflation, not inflation. I point him to the comments of the chief economist of the IMF, who was on leave from the Department of Economics at Harvard, who said that for the many countries that find themselves at the effective lower bound of interest rate, fiscal stimulus is not just economically sound policy, but also the fiscal responsible thing to do. We will base our decisions on evidence, facts, and we will continue to be there for Canadians through this pandemic.
Honourable member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the cat is out of the bag. Finally, after 8 months of waiting, we are expected to see in the coming days a plan for the aviation sector. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to ensure that this plan is for the individuals for which it is intended. So, can the minister assure me that employees will be protected under this plan, that there will be no further layoffs, and secondly, that these funds will not go, Mr. Speaker, to executive compensation?
Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, we're looking at all the things that my honourable colleague brought up, and I will say that the Government of Canada has provided $1.3 billion in assistance to the air sector through the supplementary wage program. We've also provided about $192 million for remote companies serving remote areas of our country. So we have actually put some plans in place, not to mention the rent holiday for 21 airports during 2020. So we are working on a long-term solution.
Well, member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that sounds like the same old empty Liberal promises, lots of words but no action. So I've got two more questions for the minister. Will the minister commit to restoring all regional routes all across Canada? And secondly, will he ensure consumer protection, that the tens of thousands of Canadians across Canada get their money back for the flights they purchased? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in response to my colleague, I will mention the speech from the throne, which I'm sure she was enthralled listening to, that we did mention in that we were going to ensure that regional routes would be maintained in Canada, because we feel it's absolutely essential to treat people living in regions the same way as we do treat people living in the large cities. They have as many rights as others. So we're working on that. And with respect to the question of consumers and vouchers, we are encouraging the airlines to refund where possible.
Deputy.
The honourable member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes, Verchères. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we prepare to pass measures to support businesses today, it's crazy that there's still nothing for the hardest hit industries by this pandemic. None of these measures to save the aviation sector. The planes are grounded, the airports are deserted and left to fend for themselves with their fixed costs. Regional service has been cut off. Carriers like Air Transat are on the verge of going bankrupt. Workers have been laid off. When is this government going to take action for this industry? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. It's a question that he asks me pretty regularly, and my answer is also quite regular. That is that we're working on a comprehensive program to ensure that we can maintain our aviation industry. It's essential to our country, and we're working on solutions. The Honourable Member. Well, you can't wait forever, Mr. Speaker. The Finance Minister didn't want anything for the aviation industry. That's what we learned, and that's why we've been waiting for 8 months with no plan. No plan for regional service, no plan for the airports. The planes, they have to land somewhere. No plan to refund customers. No plan to protect jobs. All Ottawa has done is been Air Canada's lackey by giving them money without any strings attached at the expense of the competition. When will there be an industry-wide plan? The Honourable Minister, as I said, Mr. Speaker, we're working on a comprehensive plan to help the entire industry, including the airlines and the airports. I've been working with my colleague, the Finance Minister, who's well aware of the situation and has publicly acknowledged that the aviation industry is in great difficulty. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the eyes of the entire planet were on the U.S. elections this week. We saw all the social division and tension created by social networks. Meanwhile, the Heritage Minister has tabled legislation, and there's nothing about sharing platforms like YouTube. We've done our research. Social networks create hatred, and they propagate falsehoods. Does the minister have a plan to solve this problem? The Honourable Minister.
We tabled legislation that will modernize the Broadcasting Act, the first time that this has been done since 1991. The changes have been welcomed by Canadian creators and those working in the industry. In fact, Jerry Diaz of Unifor, which represents many media workers, said, "The fact is, this would be a huge boost for Canadian media and media workers and their families." Our Minister of Canadian Heritage recently spoke with his French and Australian counterparts on the measures the two countries are putting in place to support their news publishers. We know the importance of local media, and we will continue to work to support them.
The Honourable Member for Timmins, James Bay.
The children in Neskandig are now in their third week of a forced evacuation, so let's run through this minister's lame Rolodex of excuses for not helping. First, he said Liberals have spent record funding on Neskandig. Seriously. Then he said, well, at least Liberals have done more for Neskandig than Stephen Harper. Well, here's the thing. Neskandig didn't have any clean water under Stephen Harper. Now they have no water under the Liberals. So when he talks about making progress, he means progress going from having no water back to boiled water. Why has this minister completely failed the people of Neskandig and their children?
The Honourable Minister or Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I would like to acknowledge the unacceptable situation in Neskandig. I would like to update the House on the current discussions we are having with the Chief. The plan forward involves a staged path to opening the new plant, which we've invested $16.5 million in. And we won't rest until we can repatriate members of Neskandig to their community in a safe, COVID-free way. And that is what we are proceeding with in partnership with the Chief. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, the Defense Minister has been secretive about his plans to establish a new Defense Strategic Communications Group. Concerns have been raised by the media about the mandate of this group and whether dossiers and journalists are being collected by his department. Canadians have trust and confidence in our Canadian Armed Forces, but this minister is stoking fear with his failure to give a straight answer. So the minister needs to be clear. Has the Canadian Armed Forces stood up a new Defense Stratcom group? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister or Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I will be very clear. The Canadian Armed Forces does not conduct influence operations on our citizens. No such plan has been approved, nor will it be. This training is important for international operations because influence activities are used by our adversaries. We must be prepared to respond to malicious foreign actors. This type of training is on pause, as the Minister has directed, while the Canadian Armed Forces conducts a thorough review. Thank you.
For Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Parliamentary Secretary didn't answer the question on whether or not Defence Stratcoms have been stood up. Now, Canadians are proud of our Canadian Armed Forces, and we support them in defending against disinformation operations by malicious foreign actors. But they also expect the Defence Minister to do his job and reassure them that Defence Strategic Communications will not be politicized by this Liberal government. So I'll ask one more time. Will the Defense Minister guarantee he will never weaponize and use military public affairs and specifically Defense Strategic Communications against Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, yes, the Minister and I have been very clear and continue to be clear that we do not conduct influence operations on Canadian citizens. Military communicators will always respect the privacy of Canadians and our allies, and we will always adhere to the applicable laws, policies, and directives. This is very clear. The Minister has made it clear, as am I doing today. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, Canadians have to protect themselves against the approaching flu season, but apparently Canada has only enough vaccine for 37% of the population. The last time the government tried to get vaccines for Canadians, they made a strange deal with the communist Chinese regime, which fell through. In a pandemic, vaccines are more important than ever to avoid overwhelming our hospitals. So my question is simple. Will Canada supply the provinces with enough seasonal flu vaccine? The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I thank the member for his question about flu season. In fact, we've delivered on flus in the timely order that is expected by Canadians. And in fact, over 97% of flu vaccines have been delivered to provinces and territories. Many provinces and territories have ordered extra flu to be prepared. And in fact, the demand has exceeded even their expectations. So we'll continue to work with them on other sources to access additional doses of flu vaccine. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, it's hard to believe because the government has been slow with almost all decisions about COVID-19. They were slow in closing the border. They were slow in delivering a vaccine because they made a deal with the communist Chinese regime. And now we have the seasonal flu coming. So they don't seem to grasp the urgency of the situation, even in this crisis. When will they learn from their mistakes and adequately protect Canadians? The Honourable Health Minister.
In fact, we have been working with provinces and territories to prepare for flu season. So far, we've seen very low flu activity, and that's good news. And I thank all the Canadians who are stepping forward to get their flu vaccinations this year. It's certainly an important year to make sure we protect our healthcare systems and our families. 97% of the flu shots ordered by provinces and territories have been released well ahead of schedule. We'll continue to work with provinces and territories to look for other sources of additional doses of the vaccine. And Mr. Speaker, again, I thank Canadians for taking this responsibility so seriously.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is so lost in his little Care Bear world, he doesn't want to offend anyone, even if it means limiting freedom of expression. His own caucus members and cabinet ministers looked the other way when he made unacceptable comments about limits on freedom of expression. Do all Liberals agree with the Prime Minister, who clearly stated that there were limits to freedom of expression? The Honourable Minister of Global Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for that question. I think it's a bit unfortunate today that this question is being politicized. The Prime Minister was clear that all Canadians were horrified by the attacks, and we expressed our deep, sincere, and concrete solidarity with our French friends. As I said, the day after the attacks, we expressed our full solidarity. And Canada is one of the greatest defenders of freedom of expression in the world, and we will continue to do that. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-Les-Sables. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect for the Minister of Global Affairs, I'd like to remind him he's not the Prime Minister. His messages do not carry the same weight. Clearly the laughingstock of the diplomatic world after the conversation between French President Emmanuel Macron and Quebec Premier François Legault, the Liberal Prime Minister finally spoke with him too. My question is, was he honest with the French president? Did he repeat what he said here, i.e. that he feels that freedom of expression has limits? We're waiting for a clear message. Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's standard that when I express myself on behalf of Canadians and on behalf of the Prime Minister. It's all been clear, Mr. Speaker. The only thing that's upsetting here is that they're attempting to politicize an issue. I'm sure they want to defend freedom of expression as we do. We've made it clear. I've said so on behalf of the Government of Canada. I've spoken to French authorities. Mr. Speaker, we will always stand in defense of freedom of expression like all members in this Parliament. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. Mr. Speaker, as we prepare to pass measures today to provide federal support for businesses, it's crazy. There's still nothing for the industries hardest hit by the pandemic. None of these measures will help the aerospace industry, nor was there anything in the throne speech. It's as if Quebec's main export sector was dead to Ottawa. The industry is completely paralyzed by the pandemic, and 43,000 individuals in Quebec are fearful for their jobs. When is Ottawa going to present a specific plan for the aerospace industry? The Honourable Transport Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. When I talk about a comprehensive plan for aviation, we know that the aerospace industry was affected too, because that's basically the supply chain for the aviation industry. So we're aware of the fact that they've been hit by this pandemic too, and we are taking that into account. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. It makes no sense, Mr. Speaker. The aerospace industry is the biggest manufacturing industry in Canada, not just Quebec. It doesn't take a genius to realize that in a pandemic, it's difficult when you manufacture planes. They're grounded. Nobody's buying them. It's simple. It's also difficult for small and medium-sized businesses who manufacture parts for those planes. The whole economic fabric of Quebec is at risk. It's the third largest hub in the world, and it is in danger of being taken over by foreign companies because Ottawa is doing nothing. What's it going to take? The Honourable Minister of Transport. I can't really, it's a bit rich for my colleague to be lecturing me on an industry that I know very well, and I know it very well in Quebec. I won't take it. I won't take that kind of comment. We're working on a comprehensive plan. What does he want?
Honourable Member for Port Moody, Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Roman is 21. He's suffered his whole life with cystic fibrosis. His lungs function at 40%. Physiotherapy and hospital visits fill up his days. Trikafta can save Roman's life, but it's not here in Canada. When I asked the minister why, she said she's waiting for Vertex to apply. But the real reason, Mr. Speaker, is this government's failed to fix PMPRB pricing regulations that keep innovative drugs like Trikafta out. It's being fast-tracked in other countries, so why is Canada lagging? When will Roman have access to Trikafta?
Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say, that I'm with Roman and his family, and I understand how desperately patients with cystic fibrosis and their families are seeking new treatments that can ameliorate their conditions. And, Mr. Speaker, we've worked with Vertex. We've encouraged them to apply to Health Canada. We've had promising conversations with Vertex, and we stand by ready to rapidly review the drug using evidence from other regulatory bodies. I encourage Vertex to accelerate their work with Health Canada to make make sure that we can ensure people like Roman and his family have access to the drug here in Canada.
The
honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, that's the problem. That's all nice talk. But I remember in June we spoke about a case about a woman in my riding. Cystic fibrosis can hit anyone, and there are drugs available in some countries, but it's been months and months and months that we've been waiting for Health Canada's decision. Could the minister give some hope and perhaps pitch in to make sure that victims of this illness can have some hope? The Honourable Health Minister.
I share the Member of Parliament, the Member Opposite's concern that we have not had an application yet from Vertex. Of course, the department has reached out to Vertex, has spoken with the company, has encouraged them to apply. But let me be clear, Mr. Speaker, patients like Roman, patients like the Member Opposite's constituent can apply to the Special Access Program at Health Canada with their doctor's recommendation. So they can access Trikafta in Canada. In fact, the majority of those applications are approved, and I would encourage them to reach out to our office if they need any help with those applications.
Honourable member for Bruce Grey, Owen Sound.
Mr. Speaker, needless to say, I was surprised but even more disappointed this morning to read that Whole Foods grocery stores have taken the decision to ban employees from wearing poppies. As someone who has served in our military to defend rights, Whole Foods may have the right to establish their own dress code, but taking away rights from their employees and banning poppies that Canadians wear in remembrance of those that have made the supreme sacrifice is just plain wrong. What I do know, Mr. Speaker, is within all Canadians' rights to no longer shop at Whole Foods. Premier Ford has indicated he'll introduce legislation to prohibit employers from banning poppies. Will the Prime Minister do the same?
Honourable Minister or Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, this is absolutely unacceptable. And I know all my colleagues in the House would join me in condemning this move and reinforcing the poppy, make sure the poppy is where it should be, and the veterans are remembered and honored for all their great service. During Veterans Week, it's a time for every Canadian to come together to show their unwavering support for veterans. Veterans provided our peace and democracy, Mr. Speaker. They deserve our respect, and this government will make sure they get it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Lethbridge.
In September 2019, 1 year ago, the Prime Minister promised Canadians that he would plant 2 billion trees in 10 years. In September 2020, 1 year later, we found out 0 trees had been planted. Then in Natural Resource Committee just last week, we found out not only no trees, but there's no plan, no budget for it. So 0 trees planted, no plan in place. Now, I know the Prime Minister thinks that the budget will balance itself. Does he also believe that trees will plant themselves?
The Honourable Minister or Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we are absolutely committed to planting 2 billion trees. We have been developing a plan based on the areas of land to be planted, the types of trees to be planted, how best to prepare the sites, how to monitor trees for survival. All of this work's been going on in the middle of the pandemic. We're talking about increasing forest cover by an area twice the size of PEI by year 10, and we look forward to releasing our plan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
The Royal Canadian Air Force Association, the 427 Wing, is an incredible resource for veterans in London. It houses 2 museums and resides in a historical canteen from the 1940s. This group has fought hard to keep the wing from shutting down forever because of COVID-19. When this group reached out to assistance from the people of London, they showed up. However, I wrote the Ministers of Veterans Affairs and Heritage over 8 months ago, and I've still heard nothing. Mr. Speaker, will this government finally commit more than just pretty words this Remembrance Day and provide immediate financial support to the wing and veterans?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And it's always been my priority to make sure we provide financial support for organizations that do so much for our veterans. And that's exactly what we included, $20 million in Bill C-4 to do just that. I've worked with some of these groups over the years, and I can assure my colleague that we will always be there to support the groups that support veterans right across this country. We owe that to our veterans, Mr. Speaker, and this government will continue to support our veterans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Agriculture has been quoted several times over the past week stating that outstanding compensation for Canada's dairy farmers would be paid before the end of the year. What is unclear is whether the minister meant the end of the calendar year or the end of the fiscal year. Despite their repeated promises to stand up for supply management, it was the Liberals who traded away our domestic market in successive trade deals. The entire process for compensation is shrouded in mystery. When can dairy farmers expect compensation for year 2?
The Honourable Minister or Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for his question. Our government recognizes the crucial role supply management plays in keeping our rural communities vibrant, and we will always be there to defend it. That is why during the new NAFTA negotiations, we protected supply management from American effort to dismantle it. Our commitment to make available $1.75 billion over 8 years for full and fair compensation is firm. We came through to our commitment with CETA and CTPPP, and we'll always do the same thing now that new NAFTA has been ratified. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Brampton East.
Mr. Speaker, recent offences involving places of worship, homes of faith leaders, and the other incidents in public serve as a stark reminder that we cannot take for granted our hard-fought freedoms. They have an impact not just on the individuals targeted, but on the community at large. This matter hits close to home in my riding of Brampton East, where we have a diversity of faiths and communities, all of whom have a right to worship peacefully without fear for their safety. Recently, I had Barak Mosque reach out to me to let me know that they intend to apply for the Security Infrastructure Program, but expressed concerns about meeting the deadline due to COVID-19 pandemic. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety please update this House on what the government is doing to ensure what those who want to apply are able to do?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Tous les Canadiens,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All Canadians, regardless of their origin or religion, should feel safe where they work or pray. Through the Safe Infrastructure for At-Risk Communities funding program, our government is assisting communities in feeling safe in their schools, workplaces, and places of worship. We want Canadians to feel more secure by increasing or strengthening security infrastructure. In order to leave enough time to submit a completed application, and given the pressures on these organizations,
the time has expired on that. The Honourable Member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Agriculture said last week that year 2 compensation payments to dairy farmers under CETA and CPTPP would be paid by the end of the year. But what was unclear from the minister was if she meant the end of the calendar year, December 31st, 2020, the end of the government's fiscal year, March 31st, 2021, or the end of the dairy year, July 31st, 2021. Will this government keep their word and tell Canadian producers now that they will pay year 2 compensation for CETA and CPTPP no later than December 31st, 2020?
Honourable Parliament Secretary or Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for the question. In August 2019, we announced a compensation package of $1.75 billion over 8 years for all dairy producers, with amounts distributed according to the respective quotas. Less than 1 year ago, we have sent a first check to all dairy farmers who asked for it. That's why we have kept our promises, and that's exactly what we'll continue to do. It was very important to ratify this agreement for the agriculture sector, which will help it grow with the continued access to our largest trading partner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes, Brock.
Mr. Speaker, dairy farmers in my riding, like Jane Shire, are asking why the Prime Minister holds agriculture in such contempt. The Liberals' 2-year delay on negotiating the trade compensation payments demonstrate a lack of understanding of the impact these concessions and the pandemic are having on Canadian farmers and their families. Conservatives understand how hard our farmers work and the costs involved in feeding Canadians and protecting our food security. So, Speaker, when will the Prime Minister make agriculture a priority?
Well, Parliament Secretary, Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for his question. Our government recognizes a crucial role supply management plays in keeping our rural communities vibrant, and we'll always be there to defend it. That is why during the new NAFTA negotiations, we protected our supply management from American effort to dismantle it. Our commitment to make available $1.75 billion over 8 years for full and fair compensation is firm. We kept through our commitment for CETA and CTPP, and we'll do the same thing now that the new NAFTA agreement has been ratified. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Beauce.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, supply-managed producers, including dairy producers, are doing everything they can to assure Canadians' food security. They expect the government to respect its own commitments. Its commitment to grant the compensation that was promised more than a year ago. Last week, the Minister of Agriculture assured producers that a payment would be transferred by the end of the year. We know that this government likes to distort the truth. Will the payment really be granted before the 31st of December 2020? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture.
In August 2019, we announced a compensation package of $1.75 billion over 8 years for all dairy producers, with amounts distributed according to their respective quotas. Less than 1 year ago, we had sent the first check to all dairy farmers who asked for it. We have kept our promises, and that's exactly what we'll continue to do. It was very important to ratify this agreement for the agriculture sector, which will help it grow with a continued access to our largest trading partner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Chilliwack Hope.
Our dairy farmers produce the highest quality milk in the world, but recent trade deals have given away more of Canada's dairy market to foreign farmers. The Liberals have promised a multi-year compensation package to our farmers for granting this access, but they refuse to provide details on the timelines of when this payment will be made for year 2. The farmers in my riding don't need the parliamentary secretary to read them a story and give the same answer he's just given 4 times in question period. On what date will compensation be paid to farmers across this country?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for his question. Again, our government recognizes the crucial role supply management plays in keeping our rural communities vibrant. We'll always be there to defend it. That is why during the new NAFTA negotiations, we protected supply management for American effort to dismantle it. Our commitment to make available $1.75 billion over 8 years in full fair compensation is firm. We came through in our commitment for CETA and CTPP, and we'll do the same thing now the new NAFTA agreement has been ratified. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Député de Beauport-Limoilou.
The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, the Davie Shipyard is an expert in Canada on icebreakers, but Ottawa is delaying in granting it a contract, a more than $1 billion contract for a Diefenbaker polar-class icebreaker. This situation has been going on since 2013. Ottawa withdrew the contract from the Seaspan shipyard because of delays, but today Seaspan is allying with shipyards in Ontario and Newfoundland to try to regain the contract that it failed to fulfill. Is the federal government purposefully slowing down this file in order to sidestep Davie to favour Seaspan? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Services. Mr. Speaker, the Davie Shipyard remains an important partner for the Government of Canada, as well as an important player in the shipbuilding industry in Canada. Unlike the preceding government, we will continue to work with Davie with the goal of integrating it into our procurement processes for various shipbuilding projects in Canada. We will continue to do so with all other shipyards as well, from coast to coast to coast. The Honourable Member. It's suspicious, Mr. Speaker. Davie is a national centre of expertise in icebreakers. In fact, it's a world leader. It's the biggest shipyard in Canada, much larger than Seaspan. Davie is ready to take on the icebreaker contract as of now, whereas Seaspan is burdened by very large delays. Nothing can justify these delays in granting the contract. Nothing, unless the federal government is trying to give Seaspan time to ally with Heddle to rob the contract from Davie. Will the government confirm today that it is Davie that will build the Diefenbaker icebreaker? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, since this government came to power, the Davie Shipyard obtained contracts worth $2.5 billion under the National Shipbuilding Strategy, and it is converting 3 icebreakers for the Coast Guard. Thanks to this government, it will become the 3rd largest shipyard under the shipbuilding strategy. I think that it is very clear what we intend to do when it comes to shipbuilding. Things are moving forward well, and Davie continues to be an important partner.
Calgary Shepherd.
Mr. Speaker,
Last month, 2 American clients of Flight Simple, a Calgary aircraft brokerage, were denied entry into Canada to inspect and finalize a purchase. These clients were refused entry, sent back to the wrong city in the U.S., and had to pay out of pocket to fly home. The government has a smooth process for billionaire elites into Canada, but can only offer confusion and frustration for small business owners. The Liberal government has already chased away hundreds of thousands of energy jobs. What is the government prepared to do to fix this unacceptable situation, or is Alberta Aerospace to be phased out next?
Honourable Minister or Parliamentary Secretary.
Monsieur le Président, je remercie mon collègue pour sa...
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. Border Services officers are working hard to ensure that rules are respected and to ensure that each situation is evaluated on a case-by-case basis in the best interest of Canada. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Portneuf, Jacques Cartier. Mr. Speaker, I have a constituent who is an immigrant who arrived in Canada with her spouse and children 4 years ago. She requested a renewal of her work permit. She did this on time, but the bureaucrats realized that the job offer for the job that she had before and after was missing. She called the business, no answer. She's going to have to wait 180 additional days. It makes no sense, Mr. Speaker. Can we call upon the common sense of the Minister of Immigration to settle this immediately? The Honourable Minister of Immigration and Refugees. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic has affected almost every aspect of our lives. Those who cannot travel can request an extension of their time in Canada or an extension of their work permit before the expiry of the previous permit. These individuals can continue to work with an implicit status, and I'll be happy to continue discussing the file with my colleague.
Aldergrove.
Mr. Speaker, since being elected as Member of Parliament for Langley Aldergrove a year ago, I've been advocating for extension of SkyTrain from Canada's fastest growing city, Surrey, into the heart of the Fraser Valley, Langley. This project is long overdue. It's supported by all the mayors, the councils, provincial government, TransLink. It's shovel-ready. The only thing that's missing is the commitment of funding from the federal government. Will the Minister of Infrastructure finally hop on board?
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, we're committed to making historic investments in public transit, including in British Columbia. That's exactly what we're doing. When we receive projects from the province, prioritize, we look at the business case and are happy to move forward, happy to talk to the member opposite in more detail about this project.
Honourable Member for Miramichi, Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, from November 5th to November 11th, Canadians will be marking Veterans Week across the country. The pandemic has changed things, but through virtual ceremonies, social media and more, Canadians will still have the opportunity to pay respect to our veterans. Can the Minister of Veterans Affairs please speak more on the importance of Veterans Week? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my honourable colleague from Miramichi Grand Lake for the question. Veterans Week is a vitally important week, as it provides us with the opportunity to remember and honour all those who have sacrificed so much for us. This year, I know Canadians across the country will join us, wear the poppy, and take part in the many virtual Remembrance Day ceremonies. To our veterans, we will always remember what you have sacrificed for us, lest we forget.
The Honourable Member for York Simcoe.
Mr. Speaker, loopholes in the Liberal government's approach to cannabis legislation has communities across Canada reeling. Illegal cannabis production operations are popping up everywhere through the abuse of personal medical exemptions. The result, prime agriculture land is being taken over. Odor and light pollution is overwhelming residents, and crime is on the rise, with law enforcement hamstrung and unable to intervene. When will the Liberals stop compromising communities and close the gaping loopholes in their cannabis laws?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the question. And as the member opposite knows, producers of medical cannabis have to go through a strict screening protocol with Health Canada. In fact, they have to demonstrate that they are abiding by provincial and municipal regulations. We'll continue to examine the cases, and I'm happy to work with his office if he would like to forward to me the situation that he's referring to.
Honourable Member for Steveston, Richmond East.
Mr. Speaker, for recent graduates applying for student loan repayment, many are having difficulty receiving answers to their inquiries. When the phone lines aren't dead or busy, they are placed on hold for an inordinate amount of time. The government had months of payment suspension to prepare, but apparently did nothing. This once again proves that the government's said commitments for helping our youth and Canadians in general are mere empty platitudes and lip service. What specifically is being done to help our recent graduates, and will the government commit to rectifying their situations immediately?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary or Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for the question. I can assure him and everyone in this House that we're working very hard to get every student's questions answered. Yes, Canada student loan payments have resumed just this past week, and in fact, we're really emphasizing to students that they have access to the repayment assistance plan if they're still struggling. We're working hard to get this information out to students. Of course, this was part of our broader $8 billion package to help students and our ongoing commitment in the speech from the throne to invest in student jobs and student support. Mr. Speaker, I met yesterday or the day before with the Student Association of Canada. I'm listening, we're there for them, and we have their backs. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Dauphin, Swan River, Neepawa.
Mr. Speaker, this year 82 emergency weather alerts were issued in my constituency, the highest in our country. Many of these alerts were issued due to catastrophic flooding and devastating tornadoes. Thanks to this Liberals government's inaction on rural connectivity, many of my constituents did not receive these warnings, which put their lives in danger. This is unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, why does this government continue to turn a blind eye to rural Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for Rural Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague is absolutely right. Connectivity is about health and safety. It's about jobs and productivity. And it is unfair. It is unfair that millions of households across this big, beautiful country don't have access to this essential service. We have heard Canadians. We have worked with them to develop a plan that they have asked for, and we will have more to say soon.
L'honorable député de Saint-Laurent.
Monsieur le Président, nous sommes the honourable member for Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, we are in the second wave of the pandemic. And in my beautiful province of Quebec, many businesses have had to close as they are in red zones. For several months, these businesses have been facing economic problems because of the new reality that we are going through. And we know that the pandemic is going to continue for at least several months. Our government has been here to help Canadian businesses since the beginning of the pandemic. But the businesses still need us. Can the minister tell the House about the new measures which will be brought in order to help our Canadian businesses? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I'd like to thank the member from St. Laurent for her question and for her ongoing advocacy on behalf of businesses in her riding as well as the workers who live there. As Canadians writ large and Montrealers as well across Canada fight the second wave of this pandemic, we know that businesses and workers are counting on us to get through this. With Bill C-9, our government is proposing a new Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy covering up to 65% of rent for businesses, as well as additional lockdown support that could cover up to 90% for those who are impacted hardest by public health orders. Mr. Speaker, we said we would be there for businesses and workers every step of the way through this pandemic, and that is exactly what we're going to do.
The Honourable Member for St. John's East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the new wage subsidy passed this week won't help new businesses in my riding, like restaurants, who have to compare sales with last January and February to qualify. That was when St. John's experienced what we call snowmageddon, with over 30 inches of snow down and lockdowns comparable to the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, will the government offer flexibility in the application of this wage subsidy program so that businesses like those in my riding and across the country can qualify?
Secretary Parlementaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over the course of this pandemic, I've had the opportunity to personally speak with businesses across Canada, including in Newfoundland and Labrador, and heard specifically issues like the one he's mentioned. From the beginning, we've been flexible in our approach and have made serious changes to programs to reflect the needs of Canadians. We have adapted certain measures to allow new businesses to get under the radar for some of the emergency programs. With respect to the specific issue issue facing Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. I'd be pleased to chat with the honourable member to better understand the issue, to see if we can extend to help to those businesses who've been hardest hit and may need support so they're still here on the back end of this pandemic.
The honourable member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada has failed to meet our commitments to foreign aid. We have failed to meet our commitments to climate action. We are the 15th largest arms exporting nation. We are considering purchasing offensive F-35 stealth fighter jets. We have engaged in NATO wars of aggression and regime change. We haven't signed the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. And we recently failed to gain a seat on the UN Security Council. Will the government conduct a full review of Canadian foreign policy and the role that this country plays in world affairs? On foreign affairs, we're getting an F.
Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I would disagree with that, Mr. Speaker, but I'd like to thank the member for giving me the opportunity to talk about Canada's leadership around the world, Mr. Speaker. Canada has been at the forefront when it comes, for example, to the issue around Belarus, Mr. Speaker. I was just in Europe about 3 weeks ago to bring Canada's support to the leading Democratic candidate. If you're looking at the Uyghur, something that a lot of members in this House have been concerned, Canada has been at the forefront to bring this issue and make sure that we have international action. When it comes to Hong Kong, Mr. Speaker, Canada was the very first country in the world to suspend the extradition treaty between Canada and Hong Kong. Mr. Speaker, we're leading around the world and we'll continue to do just that.
Ça va conclure les questions orales pour aujourd'hui.
That concludes oral questions for today. The Speaker has received several requests for points of order. I will take those requests in the order they came in. So first and foremost, the honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, there have been consultations among the parties, and I believe that you will find unanimous consent for the following motion: that this House extend its condolences to the family of Madame Émilie Sansfaçon and remind to the government that the adoption on February 21st of the following motion: that the House call on the government to extend EI benefits from 15 to 52 weeks in the next budget in order to support people with serious illnesses, including cancer, and urges the government to do so quickly. Because this is a hybrid session,